Hello, what nuts, Humpty Dump nuts, and geez, are these bozos ever going to show up nuts? It is Monday, April 22nd, U.S., and this is What Chaos in the Playoffs. DJ Bean, Pete Blackburn, Sean DePaz. Hi, boys.
Hello. Can I just share that I thought we had a special musical intro for the playoffs, but as Sean turned down the volume on our regular intro in the studio, we heard the studio right next door to our office. They're playing like some trumpets and shit. So I thought that was part of the intro. Nope. We just have the coolest office in the world, and we're right next to like a music studio.
I love that. And I remember when we moved in here, I was like, I don't know what that is, but if there's like a membership you can get, I'm going to get one. And if I ever need to blow off steam and go play piano in there for a little bit, I don't do that, because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to be here hearing all the shit that's going on over there.
It is a wild scene over there. Like coming in here at 9 a.m. and there was like an orchestra or some shit today. You never know what you're going to get.
Sometimes I come in here to like grab things, tidy things up, whatever on Sundays.
Oh,
boys,
church choir?
You have not lived until you've been here during the day on a Sunday.
Whenever I hear the music over there, I just think of like J.K. Simmons is over there making somebody cry. I just think Whiplash now.
Tight.
Yeah. Nice.
I like that. Well, we might have whiplash from this weekend because the playoffs, they started Saturday. They started Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 games on Saturday, and we had a lovely stream. Thanks to everybody who joined. We had a lot of fun there. If you are not yet subscribed to the YouTube, that is why you should be. So you can get shit like that. We also make additional bonus content like the crazy ass look at the regular season that we threw up on Friday. Pete put that together, and it was fantastic. But the real party started, I would say, yesterday, because it was the first all day, nothing to do. You and I were texting each other all giddy, like as the first game was starting yesterday at 12:30, like, hey, you know what I'm excited to do? Nothing else but what I'm doing right now until the end of like mid-June.
Yeah, I didn't know how to feel about the playoff schedule to start this postseason, because I feel like it's rare that it starts on a fucking Saturday, and you only got 2 games, so Saturday was a bit underwhelming, I guess, but like good for our purposes in that we were streaming. The Bruins played. We were invested in that game. Kind of got to warm up with a Hurricanes-Islanders game that seemingly nobody really cares about. And then Sunday, you got the headlining day. And yesterday was literally like the greatest day to be alive. You just wake up and it's playoff hockey all damn day, one game at a time. You get to focus on that one game the whole time. Oh, just the perfect day to be alive.
Well, I'm sure everybody I'm not sure. I was going to say, I'm sure anybody who's listening to or watching this show knows what happened over the weekend in hockey. But as we've been told, we have some listeners and viewers who are more here for our attempt to do a hockey show than actual hockey information or us doing a hockey show. But over the weekend, you had the Hurricanes beating the Islanders 3-1 to go up 1-0. Bruins taking a 1-0 lead over the Leafs with a 4-1 drubbing that had our friend Steve Dangle very mild-mannered and cool and leveled off. Panthers beat the Lightning 3-2 in what I would say was probably the most even game of the weekend. Rangers beat the Capitals 4-1. The Canucks came back to beat the Predators in a kind of wild game, but the show stealer of the weekend for sure, Jets and Avalanche. The Avalanche led the NHL in scoring this season. They were 17th in goals against. The Jets were 2nd in goals against, 15th in scoring. I would have expected, and we all expect this to be a close series. It's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I would have expected these games to be a practice of the teams meeting in the middle, where maybe you get some 3-2, 4-3, close games, good goaltending, at least from one side, stymieing the offensive prowess of the loaded offensive team. That is not what happened. It was a 7-6 mess of shit. Saturday, famously, Sean, pizzas. That's what we were doing. Sunday night, pizzas. That's what both teams were doing, throwing pucks out in front of the net. Craziest game of the weekend.
Yeah, that was insane. And like, I do expect them to meet somewhere in the middle. I'm not expecting a 7-6 game every game of this series. And it was back and forth. It was wild. Declared it a cocaine circus in the first period. Got our first cocaine circus of the playoffs, not involving the Oilers, which is fucking bananas. Like, a cocaine circus happening before the Oilers even open their playoffs is wild. But we got it. 6 goals in the first period. A little bit of adulting in the second period, to a degree, and then a crazy third period again. So that series, people are projecting to be the closest of the bunch. It now appears that it might be also the most entertaining of the bunch.
Definitely the most entertaining. Just giveaways galore, goals galore. I was just really surprised by how bad and sloppy both teams were in their own zone, behind the net. Shit that you would not expect from it. I know that the Avalanche aren't a great defensive team, but they're still a battle-tested, Stanley Cup winning, knows what it takes in the playoffs kind of group. And they were giving the puck away like it was going out of style. Jets, I know they're not the best defensive team. They're more of like the best.
They're a good defensive team.
Goaltending team with solid defense in front of them. They were also kind of a mess of shit. I'll say, though, Connor Hellebuyck this season allowed 5 goals 4 times this season. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the Jets lost all 4 of those games because the Jets' identity is Connor Hellebuyck doesn't allow goals. He allowed 6 goals last night and 1, which is why if there's any team after this weekend that is saying, oh, shit, it is the Capitals or the Maple Leafs, let's be real. But also, it's the Avalanche for saying, fuck. We can hang with these guys, of course. The series isn't over, but that's the most squandered game thus far.
Well, I wanted to ask that question, who had the most squandered game one? Because I think it's between Colorado for the reasons that you just mentioned. You hung 6 on Connor Hellebuyck and fucking lost. That's crazy. Probably won't ever happen again in the series, hanging 6 on Hellebuyck, but who knows? But the other option to me is Nashville, and we can get into Nashville in a little bit, but like Nashville had a chance to, we've talked about Vancouver and how they can be punched in the mouth and kind of be caught on their heels a little bit. I feel like Nashville had a chance to catch Vancouver on their heels in an away game, strike some fear into them, and they squandered it late in the third period. But for the purposes of Colorado, that one does feel like you really let it slip out of your grasp. And we haven't even mentioned the goalie on the other side, Alexander Georgiev, has been not very good for most of this season. But the Colorado Avalanche have managed to survive with Alexander Georgiev. And the Colorado Avalanche historically have proven that they can win a Stanley Cup with this group with about average goaltending. They just need Georgiev to not be bad. And if you were hoping that the time between the regular season and the postseason starting would provide a hard reset for Georgiev, horrible game 1 experience because he was awful.
He was awful, but the Avalanche put him in a spot to be awful. The Avalanche need to play in front of Alex Georgiev like they are playing in front of a backup, which is you take fewer chances, you play a little safer. I guess it's an opportunity to see if he can steal games if you give the puck away in front of the net a million fucking times. But like, what do you fucking expect? You don't have a good goaltender and you're playing lax in your defensive zone. What would you expect to happen? I don't put that game on Alexander Georgiev. He was bad, but he's Alexander Georgiev. He's bad.
He's not bad. He's mid. He's a serviceable goaltender. He's a mid to lower end starting goaltender.
You sure about that?
He is a backup goaltender. He is an NHL backup.
I think that he's like a fringe starter.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I think he's serviceable. He has been
7 goals in game 1 of the playoffs is exactly what I want.
So that's what I'm saying. Like
on 23 shots.
He's been bad most of this year, like average to bad for most of this year, made the All-Star game famously. We had a big problem with it, but he has spiraled in the last month of the season. There's no question right now. He is an awful goaltender. In the month of April, 1-4-1 in 6 games played, an .832 save percentage. And in game 1, this stat from Mike Kelly, who is a fantastic fancy stats, kind of helps you break it down, makes the analytics palatable. In game 1, Alexander Georgiev, negative 4.36 goals saved above expected. Only 4 games this season in which a goalie has finished with a bigger minus, one of them being another Georgiev start. So an absolutely awful start to game 1. And I really do think the question becomes now for Colorado is how much longer you allow this guy to have the net. And they were put in a tough spot with game 1 because Justus Annunen was sick, not available. The backup goaltender that dressed, pardon my French, I don't know his name. I don't know who it was, but had never played an NHL game before.
You sure about that?
Yeah,
Positive. He never played an
NHL game. So kind of had to ride it out with Georgiev. I would say Annunen, if he is dressed, get ready to learn net, buddy.
7 goals allowed on 23 shots. We had a huge Prize Picks weekend. All we cared about was 10xing on Prize Picks.
Yeah,
Huge news.
What?
I'm in my Prize Picks account.
Oh!
I thought this whole time I was gonna have to like get on the phone and talk to somebody, which is, as a 25-year-old, my worst nightmare. Didn't have to do that. Can do it right on the app and like a chat feature thing they had. So I got into my account without having to actually talk to a human being, which was very nice.
Prize Picks is easy, and we 10x'd on just our. I mean, we've been using Prize Picks forever, but we've only been obsessed with 10xing for like
2 days,
31 hours.
Yeah.
And we viewed it as this white whale. And then we ended up winning on a game where we thought we lost anyway. Was it this game?
It was,
because it was
this game, yeah.
It was this game. And one of the things that we DFS'd on was that Alexander Georgiev would make fewer than 27.5 saves.
Yep.
He faced 23 shots and had
7
16
goals.
saves.
Yes.
Cleared. If I were a DFSing man, I'd DFS on that again.
Yeah, it's not good, and I feel bad for Georgiev because we've had the conversation like just a few weeks ago, like something going on with this guy.
He seems unhappy.
He seems. I think spiraling is the word to best illustrate what's happening with Georgiev right now, both from an on-ice perspective and kind of, not to diagnose a guy, but like he doesn't look happy.
Can I just say, as somebody who is definitely biased, because not only did I pick the Colorado Avalanche to win the Cup, which is, like I said before the show, maybe the worst prediction I've ever made in the history of sports at this point. Actually, no, I've said the Bills will win the Super Bowl before. Anyways, but
I do want to go back to that, but finish your point.
No, yeah, like only one of these teams was supposed to have a bad goalie. Like if I'm the Winnipeg Jets, I'm sitting there being like, we had to score 7 fucking goals for us to win this game when we have probably the Vezina winner and they have maybe the worst starting goalie in the playoffs. Like I understand that they won the game and that's the most important thing, but like if I'm the Colorado Avalanche, I'm looking at this being like, if we as skaters play better, we win that game. Like the goaltending ultimately was not the difference because both of them sucked. So
who do you think feels worse?
I mean, obviously the Avalanche feel worse because they lost the game.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm not coming away from that game being like, this is going to be easy. This is good.
But if I'm either team, this is going to be such a close series that I'm just happy I won the game.
Yeah,
I think both
exactly.
teams are going to be fucking up to their eyeballs in tape after that game because there's so much shit that they need to correct, really just in their defensive zone, but also to plan on, all right, what do we do in the offensive zone when we aren't handed the puck? How will we actually generate like scoring chances and things like that? Because he didn't really need to. It was just turnovers and rushes and just fucking chaos out there. So both teams need to reset. If I'm the Avalanche, though, I think it's not going to be that bad again, but also it's going to be a very close series, and we needed to fucking win that game.
Yeah, for like what's essentially like a pick'em series, to squander a game, and especially squander a game in which you got to Connor Hellebuyck, that is a tough pill to swallow. Knowing Connor Hellebuyck will probably be much better, and your goaltender, you don't know who he is right now. And the one thing that I will say is that basically every playoffs there seems to be a goaltender that comes out of fucking nowhere and steals the show, and Justus Anunen absolutely has that energy to him.
It can't be worse. And again, if they had marginally better goaltending last night, or
no, if they had a goalkeeper last night, they also would have like if like Matt Turner was in
Matt Turner was in there. Like if marginally better,
if they had the option to switch the goaltender, they would have. I think they probably would have won that game.
Oh yeah, they at least would have been in a position to, for sure.
You're a Chelsea guy right now. Who would you trust more if you were the Avalanche? Alexander Georgiev or Georgiev Petrovic?
Petrovic. Literally anybody who stopped a object from going into another object before.
He would actually be a good, I think, hockey goalie. He's a fucking moose.
Yeah.
Guy's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Bad times for them.
I do want to point out that game was also very, like, not only a ton of goals, that game was a fucking war. That they were scrappy as hell. There was like a melee after every whistle. Val Nichushkin got his chain snatched. I don't know if you caught that.
Yes.
He got his chain snatched during the game.
A chain snatch in hockey is the best.
That's amazing. Awesome. And
just
also, like,
a keep to leave ass behavior.
That's also like the biggest the Jets aren't scared of shit thing that you could ever do, because Nichushkin has notoriously threatening vibes.
That's
not the guy that I would really like go after to fuck with. And to snatch that guy's chain says that the Jets are not scared one bit.
And also chain snatching, that's like you got some cred. If you're gonna snatch someone's chain, like, respect.
And also Adam Lowry, a fucking dog in that game one. Lowry might be the guy that pops up and is like a real, like, if they win that series, Lowry might be the guy that people are like, oh shit, didn't know that guy had it like that.
Let's stay in the Western Conference, because you wondered if the Predators squandered an opportunity against the Canucks. I kind of think they did, but also I'm not really too worried if I'm the Predators. I think this will be a pretty close series. I think that it could go the distance. The Predators didn't look horrible to me. Did they blow a lead?
No, they didn't look horrible.
Yes, but like they kind of confirmed what I thought, which is Canucks were the better team last night, but it was relatively close. And Ryan O'Reilly, Jussi Saros, like, they have the kind of guys that you want in this series against an inexperienced postseason team. Granted, you don't want to give the Canucks too much time to feel themselves and get that experience, but I think that this is going to be a 6 or 7 game series. As someone who picked the Predators, I would have liked them to have grabbed that, but I'm not really worried for them. Are you?
I'm not worried for them. I think that that's definitely a game that they wanted, and that they probably should have had. They let things get away from them in the third period, but like before that, they were playing a real strong game. The forechecking looked good. They weren't giving the Canucks a ton to do, a ton of space. So my big takeaway from that game, though, from the Canucks side is, and you've heard me say this many times, is when I look for like a true Stanley Cup contender, I look at the third line. And the third line for the Canucks last night, a real nice statement game, and just probably exactly the third line that you want to have in the playoffs, with Lindholm, Joshua had a real nice
coming out party,
and Connor Garland. So like that third line could be the key to success for Vancouver. They looked real good in game one.
Yeah, I like Dakota Joshua a lot. I like players who wear number 81.
Hell yeah.
That's a cool ass behavior. Sean likes black players.
Famously.
Bingo card update. By the way, we did bingo cards on the stream on Saturday. Filled out our playoff bingo cards, and we have an update. Whoa. A lot of things were checked off in the opening weekend, including black player scoring. Dakota Joshua. So
got equipment malfunction to start the Rangers game. So.
Sean, yours is looking good, buddy. I think that Pete, though, is probably doing the best.
Yeah, I'm in the best shape, because if I get an Austin Matthews goal, which certainly not a lock at this point, not the free space we thought it might be. If I get an Austin Matthews goal, if I get a Zach Hyman goal from the asshole, and a hat trick, I've got bingo.
All of which could happen tonight.
All could happen tonight.
Zach Hyman gets a hat trick, Austin Matthews scores, and you get bingo, which we put a lot of work into these bingo cards. If we fucking hit bingo like 5 seconds in, that'll be a little frustrating. Mine's not looking as good, but I'm more of like I'd rather be like a bingo ref than a player anyway. So whatever.
Dakota Johnson, as per ESPN, you mentioned that they accidentally missaid his name.
And it
broadcast.
sucks because it was, I think, was it
AJ?
I think it was AJ.
Yeah.
Who's like one of the best things ESPN has going for its hockey coverage.
It's a low bar.
It's a very low bar.
Yeah.
Let's be fucking real. But yeah, the bingo cards coming out pretty nicely.
Love
so
the bingo
far.
cards. The best atmosphere from over the weekend absolutely came from Vancouver.
Vancouver for a playoff game. You got to see it. It's crazy.
Jets
It
fans,
is.
I feel like, are going to take exception to that.
What's that?
I said Jets fans are going to take exception to that, I feel like.
Jets fans are a little high on their own supply right now.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
were good.
I
They
will
were
say
very
it was-
they were very good. Giving it to Georgiev.
Yeah.
Maybe not great behavior. He's going through some shit. He's spiraling. They're not helping.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely acceptable behavior.
Oh, of course. During the playoffs,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
completely
Well,
acceptable.
I'm glad you brought up
Hammer 'em.
behavior because a big topic of conversation from the Canucks and the Predators should be behavior, specifically coming from the Vancouver Canucks. They took the ice last night to Where the Streets Have No Name. What's that? Who sings that song? You fucking stupid. Everyone knows that song. It's by U2. And famously, the Predators had to cancel a trip to the Sphere to see U2 in February when they were 5th in the Central Division. They ended up snapping out of it afterwards. I forget who it was. I think it was Ryan O'Reilly that said, like, we didn't deserve the trip to see U2. And there was a lot of talk about whether or not the Predators should have seen U2. Playing U2 as they take the ice, is that a shot at the Predators? People were asking. I should note, from someone who was at those games in 2011 where they had that electric open, they played it back then too.
Yeah.
I do not think it was a shot at the Predators, but I do think if they end up winning, they'll be able to say like, oh yeah, we knew what we were doing. That was a little shot then. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was coincidental. My bigger thing is if it was intentional, if it was like a troll job, that's stupid because you're using the band that basically galvanized the Nashville Predators. Like, oh, you got them. You reminded them of the time that they couldn't go to the concert that then led to them basically getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, I do not want to put that on the Canucks. I like their presentation. I also think that if you are trolling the Predators, are you playing Where the Streets Have No Name? I think you're playing Beautiful Day and being really fucking annoying.
An in-your-face U2 song.
Beautiful Day.
Yeah, that U2 song is a really good U2 song. Not Beautiful Day, that one that they use Where the Streets Have No Name.
And that's like a walkout song.
And that's an incredible entrance song. Yes. So I wouldn't read too much into it for several reasons. I don't think that it was a troll job, but if it was, maybe not the best behavior or the smartest troll job.
I think the more suspicious behavior, Sean, if you have it, at the Canucks game, and I guess this was a national broadcast. Oh, no. The Canucks posted this video.
Playing that song all year if you ever watch a Canucks game. So that answers it.
Yeah. That's...
Well, I mean, we watch Canucks games, but how often do you see them fucking come out of the tunnel?
Yeah.
So
it's more of a flex that I was there at the 2011 Cup. All 4 of those games. What was the Canucks record in the Stanley Cup final when taking the ice to Where the Streets Have No Name?
Would that be 2
3-1. Home team won every game of that series until game 7.
Damn.
I think that shit is so cool. I think that actually happened. No, it didn't. I like series where the home team wins every game until game 7, and then the road team is like,
fuck you.
Ours.
Yes.
This is fucking ours.
Speaking of which, home team won every game from opening weekend.
Yes. Sean, can you play this video or show the tweet? I don't know what the Kevin James thing, please. All right, so the Canucks posted that with like, hey, always good to see Kevin James.
Kevin James?
Did I say Kevin James?
Yeah.
Kevin James. Weirder behavior they did that because, Sean, go back to the beginning of the video. That's fucking Chad Kroger.
Oh, shit.
That's not a Kevin
I didn't
James
catch that
video.
at all.
That's weirder behavior. And I think part of it is Chad Kroger, very tight with Connor McDavid. If Chad Kroger is at your fucking game, boys, you got to be like, yo, we got Chad Kroger here.
You can't you gotta at least give them equal split on the screen, right?
Weird behavior.
I mean, at least you can say that they didn't throw up a lower third that covered Chad Kroger's face. That's the most disrespectful thing that could ever happen.
I would have said
to
that.
him.
That's what you got. That's better.
No, it's not.
Ignorance is he'll know, but the rest of the public, he doesn't have to get embarrassed publicly because he'll just cover his face. They won't know that they're just.
And again,
burning
I don't
him.
know if this is the video from the Canucks in arena team or if they are taking broadcast video. I do know the Canucks, and as I'm saying this, I don't know exactly, but they did post it with something like, always good to see Kevin James at a game. Chad Kroger is like, what the fuck? I think that's a little Pacific Division stuff where I think that Chad Kroger, would you say, is more closely associated with the Oilers than with any other team?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think of
based
him
off
and
this
McDavid.
year, I guess.
What was the game that they were at with
Heritage Classic.
with Gretzky?
He hung out with Gretzky at a game. That was a different game.
That was an
I think that was
indoor.
a
That was
Kings
an
game?
indoor game.
Yeah, it was definitely an indoor game.
I think that was a Kings game too.
Yeah.
Actually, it could have been a Canucks game.
Maybe just Chad Kroger just
I'm more
getting
confused
around.
as to why he's at the Canucks game. Like, why is Kevin James from New York? Like, what is he doing?
And you know what? We didn't take full advantage of this.
Could be
You know,
working.
Kevin James did a lot of stuff with over the years. Blackhawks. In the Blackhawks heyday, Kevin James was always at those fucking games.
Really
He was wearing like Patrick Kane jerseys and everything.
interesting. I mean, so as somebody who just enjoys hockey, I don't want people dissecting. Why is he at that fucking game? I went to a bunch of Blackhawks games this year. I don't want people. I thought you were a Bruins fan.
And
That's
as we
bad
were
behavior.
discussing with Sean, Sean, you hate the Yankees. Someone gives you tickets to Yankees Game 7 playoff game.
Yeah,
You're a
I'm there.
fucking sports fan, brother.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
and that's a bad example because I've said many times that I hate the Yankees more than I like the Red Sox. So getting an opportunity to shit on the Yankees with the highest stakes is more enticing to me than going to any Red Sox game.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. If we go to any games this postseason, which it's up in the air, I was talking to a friend last night who said, say hi to the boys for me and see you in the final. His name was Gene,
Mhm.
not to brag. And I thought, yeah. Or I responded, absolutely, see you in the final. But if it's Bruins Canucks, I think, Bruins
guys.
Oilers, I think we got to go to Edmonton for at least part of it. And if we do, get ready to speak Game Time because it's a language that we already speak. We're always on the app and the website. So clean, such an easy process, all in pricing, always monitoring. I had friends who used Game Time to go to Game 1, and they had an absolute blast at Bruins Maple Leafs. But that's just what you get with Game Time. It's an easy experience.
Yeah, I would say that we're probably, if we go into the Bruins Oilers Cup final, we're probably not going to be using Game Time because Game Time is very transparent about the pricing. We'll know exactly how much it costs, and we'll be like, this is too expensive for us. So we would probably be getting ready to learn credentials, buddy, but we'd be using Game Time to monitor the pricing and how what the actual price to get in is.
So we could tell you, the consumer, how much
Yes.
money you had to end up spending
Yeah, exactly.
if you want to go.
We can tell you, and Game Time can tell you how much it'll cost to go to Bruins Oilers Stanley Cup final.
I will
Certainly
say
out of our price range.
on game, I know it's not the final, but the prices are looking like regular season prices, which is not
for Bruins.
for Bruins. It's only $155 to get into the door tonight.
You know why? I think part of it is, if you're a Boston sports fan right now,
Yeah, you got something bigger.
you are picking your spots. You might be going to you are going to the NBA Finals, so you might want to be saving up your
Only 168 to get to the Celtics game.
Wow. Sean, you ever been to a Celtics playoff game?
I can't say I have.
Let's
I'm
get you to.
in on this Celtics team, man.
What's that?
I'm in on the Celtics team. As I've said before, the Celtics, I think I'm generally the most indifferent towards for the Boston sports teams, but I'm coming around.
It is very hard to not love Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I watched Jaylen Brown. I'm like, that dude, he's a motherfucking dog. Like he's a dog.
He is, and I like that he can't dribble. he's like, well, I don't need to fucking dribble.
Yeah.
I'm a basketball player.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking hit free throws and dribble. Get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna fucking dunk on you.
Kyle
if
Hunt
you-
said use Game Time to get tickets to Game 4 Bruins Leafs this weekend. Nice. You get to see the sweep.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, that's going to be on Saturday. Yeah, and with zone deals, you pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
I don't envy poor Boston fans right now because they probably have about 15 Game Time tabs up. They're like, where do I even look right now? You got Messi in town on Saturday. You got the Leafs and the Bruins. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to tell you what to do. This is a skippable Celtics series if you're a Celtics fan. Heat, extremely dead. Celtics, they said on the radio today, they're like, if the Celtics play even an average game and they lose a game this series, they should be ashamed of themselves. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You know it's what we do. You download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAOS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
That's right. Not a lot of hockey fans want to be thinking about golfing right now because... Oh, you got a golf joke?
Bingo. If
Had
you
that
say,
on my bingo card.
That has to be on a broadcast, not on the What Chaos show. We can't manipulate our own bingo cards.
have a little confidence in yourself, Pete. I consider you a hockey broadcaster.
Thank you very much. It doesn't count. Not a lot of people want to be thinking about golfing right now, but a lot of NHL players are golfing right now. About maybe like half of them golfing
Half
right
of
now.
the NHL players are golfing right now?
They're free to golf right now.
I was going to say, that'd be crazy. If we need to get an NHL player on the horn right now, we're like, we need an appearance.
You're all golfing.
Half of them are golfing?
It is a shame that the golf capital of America has just lost their hockey team.
That's true, but they will. I mean, they still
Well,
get a lot of
no.
NHL players in the offseason.
Yeah, no, they'll still live there.
So if you want to hit the course with some NHL players, maybe half of them, you can go to PXG because PXG is an incredible golf brand that is seemingly like kind of taking over the world at this point. It seems like PXG is becoming fucking massive, I love that for them.
I use exclusively PXG clubs when I play the EA Sports PGA game.
Oh,
I am a brand loyalist as far as I can be.
Well, guess who's using the PXG Black Ops driver this
in
summer?
real life?
This guy, because they gave me it. Went to the PXG location in Framingham, Massachusetts. Friendly staff. They helped me fix my swing. And the best thing about PXG's clubs are that they love to give you distance, but also a ton of forgiveness. And as somebody who kind of sucks at golf, I need all the forgiveness that I can get. So if you want to do what I did, head to a PXG location, get a fitting, bring your old driver. They'll kind of evaluate your swing with your current driver and tell you why the PXG driver can do better for you. And probably big reason is the unreal forgiveness. So game changer is thrown around a lot. It's kind of lost its meaning, but believe me when I tell you that the PXG driver is a true game changer. You'll be impressed. I was impressed. You might be more impressed. Who's to say? But learn more and get free shipping on all equipment at pxg.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos at checkout. That's pxg.com/whatchaos using code whatchaos at checkout for free shipping on all equipment. Once again, pxg.com/whatchaos using code whatchaos.
I'd love to talk about the Rangers and the Capitals, but that series is Chris Bay over already. It was immediate, like, actually, they played 0-0 for a little bit, but after that game, and we'll talk about the one star of it, but after that game, you're like, fuck, the dream is dead. There's not going to be a fun Capitals make any sort of run kind of thing here.
They could take like one game.
I think there's a chance. I think there might be game 4. Rangers want to close it out in New York. So they're just like, yeah, you can have this
that
one.
Series just isn't going to be as fun as we want it to be.
No, it's
It did seem like the Rangers were kind of playing with their food a little bit. Like
Exactly.
it was a game for a little bit, and then once the Rangers just decided, okay, we're better than you, and they took that game over pretty quickly. And I think this series has the most sad potential to it.
Yeah, once the Rangers decided we're better than you, we're so much better than you that Matt Rempe is going to be how we beat you. The Rangers
Matt Rempe scoring the Rangers' first goal of the postseason. Oh my God!
the saddest part of that to me was that he had scored twice during the regular season. Because like if that had been his first career goal, it would have been the most beautiful moment of the playoffs.
Famously, he scored like in his opening week in the league, and people were like, "Oh, see, not just a tall fighter."
But
he just went on to log like 4.5 minutes of ice time the rest of the year.
Doesn't that go to what I was saying last week, though, about the Rangers, where there's just fucking something with that team where stupid shit is happening, but it's all good for them.
Oh, yeah.
Where instead of there being crybabies and they're firing people because their employees are embarrassed for the behavior of the organization, It's just they got this fucking tall guy who goes to Italian dinners with his mom and beats people up, and then he fucking scores the first goal of the NHL playoffs for the President's Trophy winning Rangers. There's something with this team, man. And it might be that they're playing an asshole opponent, but it just all speaks to it, I think.
I mean, they're showing up and they're playing some good playoff hockey. I mean, you got to get contributions from guys like Matt Rempe. If you're going to put him in the lineup, he's got to do something for you. And I honestly liked Matt Rempe's game in game one. That was a nice little goal in front of the net. He got under their skin. They tried to fight him and he just laughed in their face. Like, that's exactly what you want from Matt Rempe in that game one. So I know that we make fun of him, say he's kind of a useless oaf sometimes, but Matt Rempe, what's up? Also, Alexis Lafreniere, incredible forecheck to produce that second goal.
Our insider, Johnny Lazarus, has been on this story from the jump, that he was going to be a good player. And the whole NHL for a while was sitting in with the, you sure about that?
No, Alexis Lafreniere, I think, is a real good NHL player. It's just like the expectation of being like a number one overall pick and supposing to be like the fucking guy.
Exactly. You know what he can be? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Not the ideal return on a first overall pick, but a guy that you want on your team for his entire career. You take that all day. Bruins pumped the Leafs. Steve Dangle had several meltdowns. Shout out to him and his crew because they're churning out content just as we are. Subscribe to our YouTube if you have not. Jeremy Swayman, really good. Stops 35 of 36 in game one. Yes, there was a moment where he kind of John Van Beesbrooked it and almost basically handed a goal to Austin Matthews, but that free space ain't free yet. Swayman hanging tough. Who should the Bruins play in game two?
I would say play Swayman in game two, and then you automatically go to Ullmark in game three. Obviously, like the going with Swayman in game two gives you the option of like you either like have a guy play as well as he did in game one and kind of solidify and let him get like your number 1A gets 2 games right off the bat, plays well, and you go into game three with less pressure for Linus Ullmark. Or you say, okay, we got a split from Jeremy Swayman. Linus, let's see what you got.
I'm 100% playing Linus Ullmark. And if the Bruins come out and have a good game, good performance in front of Linus Ullmark, beat the Leafs, go up 2-0, that is demoralizing to the Leafs.
What, to get both goaltenders and a win from each?
To see that it doesn't get any easier.
I think that there's potential, though, for if you start Linus Ullmark in game two and the Bruins lose, that's shaky ground for the tandem. Like I have a better stomach, or like I think there's less chances of things being uncomfortable if you play Swayman in game two and then just go to Ullmark in game three.
But think if you're the Leafs and you're down 2-0 going home, you think, okay, well, you could shake it off. You're home now, and you don't have to face the guy that just beat you 2 games in a row. It's a champagne problem if the Bruins go up 2-0 with Jeremy Swayman or with Linus Ullmark. Either way, I like the idea of keeping the rotation going, keeping both guys feeling good, because if the Bruins do make any sort of run, it's going to be with both of those guys. And I know that you're not saying sit Linus Ullmark forever, so I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I think that it would the more prudent move on Jim Montgomery's part to stick with the I've learned from my mistakes last year would be Ullmark game 2. Sean?
Other Sean in the chat made a good point about Ullmark making his first start of the playoffs in Toronto, which is not a great situation. But I was going to say, like, we were talking after game 1, like if Swayman had gotten that shutout, you kind of put yourself in a position where you have to start Swayman. And now you're in a position where if you start Swayman tonight and he gets a shutout or something like that, it's going to be pretty hard to say that you should start Ullmark in game 3, which then you get back into the situation of really fucking up that rotation, which obviously was a problem. I would rather go Ullmark because, like DJ said, it would be demoralizing if you can't figure out either goalie, and then it gives you complete freedom to do whatever you want in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer here, and I don't think that, like, if they start Swayman, I'm going to be, like, ecstatic, or if they start Ullmark, I'm going to be concerned. It's just, there's no right answer. It's just, you know, I guess if you want to just put it kind of like table the quote unquote controversy immediately, you can put Ullmark in game 2 like that. Like that's where you said maybe the more prudent move to just say, listen, we're rotating. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And I agree that like if they put this is a very amicable discussion, but like if I agree that if they go with Swayman, a positive I take from that is okay, they are showing faith in Jeremy Swayman that throughout his entire time in Boston has been lacking by a little bit, whether it's the signing Tuukka Rask, whether it's the taking him to arbitration, not giving him a real contract, whether it's, I mean, even going all the way back to signing Linus Ullmark. If you go the first 2 games of the postseason for Jeremy Swayman, that shows faith in him that he's your guy long-term. I like that part of it, but I think the time for who the fuck do we start tonight will come eventually. I would stick to a rotation for now and then make the hard decisions later.
The Ullmark and Toronto thing doesn't necessarily like concern me.
Yeah, I mean,
starting his first game there, especially if Swayman plays well in the first 2 games, those guys typically elevate each other.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that Linus Ullmark wouldn't be fucking pumped to go to Toronto with a 2-0 series lead after watching Jeremy Swayman play well and be like, and have the team turn to him and be like, now's your turn, buddy.
I agree with you. I don't necessarily think it is a problem, but it could be. And so maybe. If you can avoid it and you don't really lose anything by going the other way, you might as well like get them both a little playoff experience this year under their belt before they have to go to Toronto. Or like Aviva said in the chat, it probably doesn't matter because it's Toronto and they're fucked anyways.
Sean, do we have updates from morning skate from the Bruins?
Yes.
Give it to us.
So Montgomery said that his starting goalie tonight has 2 vowels in his first name.
First and last name.
First and last name. Oh, I didn't even...
First and last name.
I guess that applies to both of them still, yeah. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, and then someone asked Jake DeBrusk, or he asked Jake DeBrusk about it, and he said, I don't even know what vowels are. You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay, good dogged reporting from Ty Anderson as usual, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Hope you follow him. He's a good friend of ours. 2 vowels in each of the names. Could you bring up their names, please? All right, so we have the Bruins goalies' names there. Jeremy Swayman, can you give us the vowels in Jeremy Swayman's name, please? All right, so E, 2 E's, a Y could be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2.
Sometimes.
3 is 2. And last name, same. 2 A's and a Y. So, and I'll give us Ullmark.
Look at that. 2
I'll
vowels.
tell you what. I think that it's Ullmark because, yes, Swayman has 3 vowels in both his first and last name. Ullmark has 2 in both his first and his last.
So it really depends on how you're going about it because like I said earlier, technically A is only 1 vowel, E is only 1 vowel. So he has it appear twice, but it's only 1 singular vowel. Whereas with Linus Ullmark, he's got 3 different vowels. So
Listen.
What
I
does
hear
it mean?
you, Sean.
I do need to bring up a point. Brandon Bussey, 2 vowels in his first and last name.
Crazy. Yep.
So could be Brandon Bussey in net for game 2.
Hey.
I mean, you want
Who
demoralizing.
Yeah.
You want demoralizing for the Leafs. I like that in all these scenarios where like, and then the Bruins win this game. So how does it make the Leafs feel once they've lost this game against whomever? Do we think this is going to be a quickish series? 5-6?
4-5?
No, because they never are. But game 1 was probably as good as you could have wanted as a Bruins fan and as bad as you could have imagined as a Leafs fan.
Mm.
That game could not have been like a more to the script for Bruins Leafs.
I think I know what you saw and are reacting to. Is it the Oxford comma energy comment?
I am getting severely misunderstood.
That's so funny.
In the chat.
We've had this conversation, I think, multiple times off air about the Oxford comma.
You think that I'm an Oxford comma person?
He's an AP style guy.
I am the ultimate AP style guy. This show
I'm the Oxford comma guy.
adheres to AP style. It's my only rule of the show. No hit chat. We're not talking hits. And we need to have a little order here. No, I'm not an Oxford comma guy. That is so offensive.
I'm an Oxford comma
I'm
guy.
going to make a stink about an Oxford comma guy, but I'm not an Oxford comma guy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm also not an Oxford comma guy. Somebody told me AP. Everyone was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter," and then AP style came along. We're like, "No, it does matter," and you don't use it, and so I don't use it.
I use it.
Didn't Pete ask on the show if the AP style guide said to jump off a bridge? Would you?
And
Yes,
And I said
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
This is exactly the
It is my
conversation that we had.
It is my lord. It
That's
is-
my Bible.
Yeah.
I like the chat came to my defense pretty quickly. They were like, "Oh, buddy."
For the love of your life, asking, and anyone else doesn't know, the Oxford comma is the third comma, or the comma after and, or before and, I guess.
Before
right?
and,
Yeah.
Love of your life. Who had a very good showing in the
I'm with
chat
Emily.
on
Who
the
even
stream.
gives a fuck?
AP style
That's
does.
Vampire Weekend lyric.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Who gives a fuck about an Oxford comma? From their song Oxford comma, big hit.
Yeah, I'm anti-Oxford comma.
But for the Bruins Leafs, like the funniest thing ever was Johnny Beecher getting the first goal.
After Steve Dangle said he'd
Dangle
never
said-
heard of him, so he would score the first goal.
Yes, the Johnny Beecher from Jesper Boquist and Pat Maroon is the funniest possible first goal combination for the Bruins, because all three of those guys have spent the majority of the season not on the Bruins.
Bruins getting a little depth scoring, not bad. Horrifying if you're the Maple Leafs, but also this is the team against whom you could test out depth if you want, if you're the Bruins, I think.
Yeah, I mean, those three guys, then you've got a Brandon Carlo goal, which I don't necessarily know if you consider depth, but like unexpected scoring. And then Trent Frederick. Hell yeah, brother. Way to go.
Oh, good question from the chat. You read the thing that said, "Who gives a fuck about an Oxford comma?" Does talking about Oxford comma, the song, qualify as hit chat?
It's a hit.
Because it was a big hit.
Yeah.
So we can only talk about obscure songs.
No, that doesn't count because we spent so much time this year talking about Tate McRae
It's true.
and everything that she puts out as a
She's a
hit.
hit maker.
Yeah.
She is a hit maker. Absolutely.
Matt Rempe, Tate McRae, hit makers.
Hit makers. Yeah, shout out Matt Rempe, by the way. Like, first thing he did in the game was take a stupid charging penalty.
That was a bad penalty call.
It wasn't that bad a penalty call.
It was.
First game one, you got to establish, Matt Rempe, you're not doing your shit. You have to consider the
I think if there's
circumstances.
anybody who is allowed to do his shit in the playoffs, it's Matt Rempe.
No.
What other purpose does he have other than being like a playoff guy?
Fine call.
No.
I would say, what did you
It was
expect? I'm not saying this to you, but to people who are like, I can't believe they call it. You don't watch playoff hockey.
I watch
You
playoff
don't-
hockey.
You're
All I'm gonna say is, if we're gonna get into the officiating discussion, which I don't want to, why is Kelly Sutherland allowed to referee playoff games?
he's fucking hilarious.
That guy stinks at his job so badly and had an awful first day at the office. I think that Kelly Sutherland should have been banned from refereeing in these playoffs after the fucking Flyers debacle, in which he blew the play dead as the puck was in the air above above not Urson, because that would have been a Flyers goal.
Right.
Who would it have been?
Who's against?
Was it the Caps?
Maybe. Let's say it was a Lindgren.
Whatever final game that the puck was in the air and
It
took,
was.
took the goal
Yeah,
off the board.
he was
for
against the Capitals.
Yeah, okay.
Because the Flyers famously put the Capitals in the playoffs.
True.
Let's quickly just, even for 1 second, Panthers Lightning didn't go the way I thought it would go. I have Lightning in that series, but I do think that's probably going to be the closest series in the East.
Yeah.
And it was like that you look at the numbers in that series, in that game, it was fucking identical. And I don't think that I'm hanging my head if I'm the Lightning.
I think that like it's going to be the closest series in terms of between the 60 minutes. Like it could be a Rod Brindamore wasn't a sweep kind of game where Florida wins in five close games or something like that. Like Bruins Leafs is inevitably going to go 7 games, but they might not be the closest games on ice.
I don't know. I could see my Leafs. I think the Leafs are on demoralized watch already for me. Maybe it's because I've been watching too much Dangle content. He's very demoralized.
The Leafs aren't going to exit a playoff series without providing hope.
I think
Like
Leafs fans
that's what makes the Leafs the Leafs is they always provide some hope. And then they rip it away from you.
Should note, by the way, it does not look like William Nylander is going to play based on what we're seeing from Morning Skate. Correct? He did not participate in line rushes. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to play, but historically, they have the guys go through the stuff when they're going to play. And if they do a little electric skating or do stuff off to the side, it usually means they're not going to play. So it would appear that he's, let's say, doubtful. Let's get to a slate grade presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. I got to be stingy with the grades this postseason because there's going to be some fringe A's that will end up being A minuses. That's what yesterday ended up being. I think that afterwards, I'd say, you know what? Maybe I'd like to bump it up to an A, but it's too late. That got an A minus. It was a great day of hockey. 4 games tonight, 7 p.m. U.S.
I messed up the graphic for the record.
What's that?
Switch the Leafs and the Islanders start times. It's Leafs at 7, Islanders 7:30.
7 p.m. U.S. Leafs at Bruins, game 2. Boston leads that 1-0. 7:30 p.m. U.S. Islanders at Hurricanes, game 2. Carolina leads 1-0. 9:30 p.m. U.S. Knights at Knights at Stars, game 1. And 10 p.m. U.S. Kings at Oilers, game 1. There might be a little bit of a conversation to be had about the structure here. I do like that the 2 late games are staggered a bit. This is the easiest A I've given in my life, not just because the Oilers are playing, not just because Bruins Leafs are playing. My favorite series, the one that I want to watch the most, even more so than my Oil Men, who we'll talk about in just a minute, is Knights Stars. The Knights being in the being in the Central and getting the Stars in round 1, that series should be a fucking dogfight between like 6-year-old dogs. And if you know anything about a 6-year-old dog, that's a healthy, adult, got their shit figured out dog.
It's not pissing on the carpet.
There's going to be no piss in that series. Now, Kings Oilers going to get a little bit of piss.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Covered
fucking
in
like
piss.
puppy mill.
You're gonna,
it's just full of puppies.
Yes, it's right. It's puppy mill puppies.
Yeah.
It's puppies who have not been treated right.
Exactly.
Haven't been taught anything. Even though you're like, Oilers Kings, aren't you 3 years old? Isn't this your 3rd birthday? Don't we keep seeing you? That might be some other puppy. I don't know what to tell you. Gotta piss. This gets an A for me.
We got cards now. We got big old cards for.
Hey,
that's an A on the slate. I'm not going to disagree. I think it's an A. I think that's an astute and correct evaluation. Correct evaluation. You're really roped in with the Bruins Leafs at 7:00. That allows you to kind of ignore Carolina Islanders if you want to do that.
I don't know if I'm seeing any of that game.
I think that is going to be.
If you only got one TV, you don't have to do any channel flipping tonight, which is great.
I usually do like a little bit of like a 3-screen experience where I have like my Xbox and I'll be playing games and I'll be watching hockey games. I think that game is going to get turned off 30 minutes in so I can start watching the other game, and there will be blood because I do need to watch that tonight before Oilers Knights.
Look at this guy. Love that. Yeah, big A on the slate tonight. Leafs Bruins, amazing. Night Stars, I agree with you in that, like, holy shit, got to tune in for that one on any given night. Kings Oilers, obviously I'm interested to see what happens with the Oilers. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be intrigue there. I feel like that series could be a little bit of a letdown.
Let's talk Oilers Kings. First, let's talk about how Oilers Kings is even happening. Because the end of the Kings regular season was the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Now, this was after we were done with stuff for the year, so we weren't talking about it much, but we knew that going into the final day of the regular season, the Kings needed a Golden Knights loss plus a point themselves to jump the Knights and end up getting the 3rd spot in the Pacific so they could play the Oilers instead of the Stars. The Knights lost to the Ducks because Frank Vetrano went the fuck off. Cutter Gautier's NHL debut. It was awesome. What a party. Kings playing the Blackhawks. All you need is a point here. Sweet. They take a 3-1 lead, allow 3 goals in the 3rd period, have to come back and tied the game in the final seconds on a final minute. It was like 1 minute to play. Victor Arvidsson ties it up. They go to overtime. They end up winning 6 seconds in anyway. But wild how the Kings almost blew that. Great behavior going into the playoffs as you're about to get into a piss contest with the Oilers. And by the way, we should start saying piss contest, not to be confused with pissing contest.
Yes.
Pissing contest is when you're both trying to prove who's got more. A piss contest is you're supposed to be playing hockey and you're pissing everywhere.
The Jets and Avalanche really laid out what a piss contest is yesterday.
Yeah, big piss contest.
That was a big piss contest. I think that the only way that this series is really interesting is if the Oilers piss.
I think
if the Oilers play like adults, they're going to win the series, I think, fairly quickly.
I don't know if I've ever been more confident in an Oilers game. I think the Oilers are going to fucking kill the Kings tonight. I don't know what's going to happen in the series. I think and hope they're going to win, although this is the third straight season in which they've played each other. Oilers won in 7 in 2022. They won in 6 last year, both of these in the first round. So maybe you could say the Kings are due. Kings have had a lot of shenanigans this year, and sure, so have the Oilers, and the Oilers are in the playoffs, and that means extra shenanigans for those idiots. But I think that tonight, at least, they are going to fucking roll the Kings. We should note, Evander Kane is questionable with a sports hernia. Didn't see that coming. Was not on my bingo card. So their depth could take a little bit of a hit. I still think even if they're without him and they need him for the playoffs in the long run, I think the Oilers, I don't know why, fucking roll tonight.
All right. I'd be interested to see it.
Stars and Knights, rematch of last year's conference final. Vegas won in 6th. Do we think this is going to be the best series of the first round? I think it is.
I mean, I think Colorado-Winnipeg might be the best series of the first round. I think
it's the most first round of the first round.
Yes.
Like
okay.
what the fuck is this? Cocaine everywhere.
Yeah, like it's going to be that the Vegas-Dallas series is the classic. Well, one of these teams is going to get eliminated in the first round when they probably shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
It's a first round Stanley Cup final. This really is, though, because the West is the best, and these are two of the best teams in the West.
And like people can push back against Vegas being one of the best teams in the West, given how they looked at points during this regular season. I don't give a fuck. This Vegas team, especially if they get Stone back, especially if they get Pietrangelo back,
both practicing.
Scary team.
Both practicing.
Yeah.
What timing?
And Carrier.
What's that?
And Carrier.
Yeah. This is interesting. I'm rooting for you to not lose your bet, even though I don't think we need to worry about our bets because our DFSs are so much better than our bets right now anyway, that we're rolling in those DFS winnings. But I like the Knights, and I like, meaning like I personally, I like the Knights. I like when they have deep runs. I like that they're in the Central, so they're not going to fuck up my life, whereas they would have if they were in the Pacific. Right now, go on your little run. Oilers, if they get past the Kings, should have a somewhat doable second round with the Predators or the Canucks. Knights, do what you got to do. Enjoy. God bless. Have fun.
From a Dallas backing perspective, I'm going to back what Petey said last week, is that I'm glad the Stars are getting the Knights in round 1 as opposed to in the conference final or whatever. Like, if you're going to get the Knights, now's the time to get them and knock them out, because Stone's going to be a little rusty. Pietrangelo, probably a little rusty. He's probably still going to be a fucking dog because Pietrangelo is a monster and the best. But like, they're on more shaky ground than they probably will be in a week.
It's going to be the Aiden Hill rule of survive the murderer in the first 10 minutes of the movie. You're living the whole movie, baby.
Yeah.
So whichever one of those teams survives, maybe they make their run. But oh boy, we're going to have tons for you. Tomorrow, we're going to be discussing, of course, both of these games. You know where to find us on Twitter and all those things. But it's important that you're subscribed to the YouTube, because we're also sporadically just going to pop up and stream, maybe unannounced, but definitely whenever a game goes into overtime.
Yep.
So boy, oh boy, that'll be wild if either of these two late games does. But hey, rules are rules. We will be there on the stream. So subscribe, What Chaos YouTube, and also make sure you're following us on all the socials and everything. We got lots coming this postseason. We love you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.